What's up, everyone? This is the Go Along Podcast. Tyler Dunn here with Jim Monis. This is a news-worthy podcast, Jim. I mean, really, it's kind of fun to have a little something to talk about beyond, this guy's in the best shape of his life. This team is on the rise. They moved up the power rankings. This highlight of a quarterback in shorts throwing versus air. Stefon Diggs, Sean McDermott, Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills. Holy hell, there's a lot to get into. I guess the place to start, Jim, I'm not going to lie, it is objectively hilarious from a PR standpoint. Right? I mean, this is the softball of all softballs for any NFL organization. Like, the softballs just floated up in the air, knock it out of the park, right? Hit a few video clips on Twitter, a few talking points. Right? Hope is in the air for everybody, all 32 teams. You can talk yourself into, this is why you fans should fill the stadium and just get it rolling. And the Buffalo Bills may have the most talented roster in the NFL. Like, this is a Super Bowl contending team with a clear Super Bowl window, like we've talked about. I mean, just 2 weeks ago, they're celebrating Pride Month, which I clicked on the link, Jim, and wherever anybody stands on this, we won't get too controversial here. I did not know that there was a Zeer here pronoun. I was unaware of that. Let me just make sure I got that right. Yeah, the Bills linked to this gender pronoun chart. HIRZIR, here and Zeer. Zay is speaking. So I guess you learn something new every day.
This is
never heard of that before.
This.
Yeah, I didn't know. And in this link that the Bills tweeted out, there's a line here that also says, there are an infinite number of pronouns. As new ones emerge in our language, always ask someone for their pronouns. So I don't know. So that's kind of how the month kicked off for the Buffalo Bills. A little pronoun talk, little pride talk. McDermott at a podium here, Josh Allen at a podium there. All was fine on the Eastern Front, and then minicamp arrived, and everybody kind of knew. All right, now money's on the line. Like, if Stefon Diggs, he wasn't in OTAs, no big deal, voluntary. You're not going to get fined if you miss those practices. You will be fined if you miss a minicamp practice. And we don't need to rehash everything play by play. I think a lot of our listeners are kind of caught up to speed. But obviously, Sean McDermott kicked things off by saying, he was very concerned. Stefon Diggs was the only member of the team not at minicamp. Clearly, something just happened, right? Because this is a coach. Say what you want about Sean McDermott. Like, he's really going to say a hell of a lot of nothing in these situations. If there's any drama behind the scenes, he'll probably protect the player, keep it vague. Obviously irritated about something involving Stefon Diggs. Said he was very concerned when he was asked the question. And everybody's like, holy hell, what happened? And then Adam Schefter spoke to Adisa Bakari, Stefon Diggs' agent, who said, yes, Diggs did meet with McDermott, meet with Brandon Beane. So now he's there, but he's not practicing. He's cited leaving. So he was there, but he left. And then, one day later, we're told, nothing to see here. Right? I mean, a lot of crazy stuff out there. A lot of media this, media that. Well, not exactly. I mean, the head coach is the one who kind of spoke the concern literally into the atmosphere. I don't know where you want to start with this, Jim. I've got a lot of thoughts, but you were the director of personnel, Doug Whaley's right-hand man, who hired Sean. We've got into everything. You've been in those positions with these type of personalities. You know the head coach involved here. What are your thoughts?
First of all, yes, you are so right that we needed this so badly. We needed Diggs. We needed some drama because I think we know our text exchanges recently. It's a lot of Deshaun Watson is back to being a Hall of Famer. Kirk Cousins is a Hall of Famer. A lot of teams have won a couple games already in OTAs. I didn't even know. So we needed this.
We did. We desperately needed this.
I felt bad. Our Matt Fairburn and our text threads are a little desperate right now. We're just doing anything to get through the day.
Did you know that Russell Wilson slimmed down, though?
I found that out, and even before I drafted him, I didn't know that. So I feel even better about our quarterback draft, knowing that Russell Wilson's, like you said, in the best shape of his career, just like many of the players.
Bryce Young got the job. He moved up the depth chart, by the way.
And I'm hearing let's get into this while we're on it. It's the battles that there's a chance CJ Stroud's a little further ahead. Richardson in Indianapolis, a little further ahead. I know it's pretty far ahead where they were drafted. And that can tell you a lot about how they're going to climb that depth chart. There's not much of a battle.
I know we're joking, but this is kind of the point. Like every coach and every quarterback, every team, like seriously, sit down with your PR head in that staff meeting. Let's go. Like this is what we're going to hit. This is what we're going to get fans all jacked about, off and running, because there's no coach that's going to stand there and say, oh man, I don't know what to do. Like this is wrong, that's wrong. It's only June, but that's about as close as you got. And you got that from Sean McDermott, a coach who abhors controversy and distractions and any of this. Like he doesn't want to get near any of that stuff.
If you really want to know what's going on right now, this time of year, that is the garbage that we see. You know, everybody's great. What is going on right now is there's probably about, I'm taking a guess on this because I'm kind of just thinking about what's going on per team, but maybe a quarter of the draft picks right now the teams aren't real happy with. Where this is the time of year where you're like, ooh, wait a second. I thought, so-and-so, it could be the 5th round pick, the 6th round pick, the 7th round pick. Guys, we don't talk about, but I'm telling you right now, you want those guys to be going like this, right? Those are the like I like to call the bonus picks, whatever, the extra, you double down, boom. Those picks hit, you are golden. And as a draft, when you're drafting, those are the picks you get as excited about those guys as you do the 1st round pick. So right now there are a lot of like, whoa, I can tell you right now, I can remember going as far back to Quanjo. The talk on Quanjo was, what's up with this guy? Like, he's not close to being ready. We seriously thought he was going to come in and play. So that stuff is going on right now. I'm using Quanjo as a personal example. Every team has somebody like that. So there are some really good storylines for teams, but that's the backbone stuff. That's not the Real Housewives of Orchard Park and the Stefon Diggs. This whole thing. All right, I'm going to give you my quick take on Diggs because we've talked about Diggs at length. The interview at the Combine with him was outstanding. He said he made a business decision, on a play over the middle. We all loved it. He did. Why take the hit? He went down. He got questioned on it. He was honest. We love the honesty. He's so tough, route running hands, everything you could want. Why did he last as long as he lasted? We talked about it. There was a little bit of, is he an all about me guy? Does he have quote unquote diva, whatever you want to use the term for drawing attention to yourself? He may have some of that. A lot of great ones do. Is it a big deal? No. Is it something the Bills know or the whole NFL knows? Yes. There's nobody surprised about any of this. I don't see it as a big deal at all. What's funny to me is it's a big deal because the head coach made it a big deal. And to me, the things I can't believe that we've talked about in this offseason are the GM talking about the franchise quarterbacks running and the head coach concerned about the franchise part B. Why are you talking about Diggs and Josh Allen?
When the questions there. I mean, they were – sorry to interrupt you, Jim. I don't want to slow your roll. But, I mean, like the Bengals playoff game was January. When he was in Josh's face on the sideline, that's January. When he storms out of the locker room and has to be talked back into coming from, I believe it was Duke Johnson, right? To listen to McDermott's speech at the end of that. That was several months ago. So it's not like this crept up on you. And it's not like Stefon Diggs. I don't think this was all orchestrated on his part. I mean, he traveled to minicamp. He traveled to Orchard Park. He showed up at One Bills Drive. So we are to believe his intention all along was to participate, to practice. He has this meeting. Something was said. Something pissed him off. And he leaves. And then he's back, obviously, and he's doing the handshake with Josh Allen and everything. But it's like, what's pissing him off? I mean, we can speculate. We have to speculate because nobody's really saying. But, I mean, real quick, what Josh Allen said is it's, quote, internally, we're working on some things, not football related. Quote, I effing love him. This does not work without him. I have his back no matter what. I freaking love him. There are things I could do better. I think there are things that could have gone better last year and didn't. I think as an organization, there are things that weren't communicated the right way. So, I mean, we can speculate on the Allen front. Was there something up with their relationship? Did Allen do something off the field that irritated Diggs? Is Diggs mad about, I mean, he had the second most targets in the NFL next to Devontae Adams, I believe, last season. But his production did kind of taper off the second half of the season. I mean, everybody in this podcast feed, they heard Isaiah McKenzie. It was kind of a running joke how Diggs would get just pissed off during games, and Isaiah was like his babysitter. He'd have to calm him down. And, so he would – I think with Diggs, he is so highly, highly intense, competitive, maniacal, in your face. You saw it in Minnesota. You saw it here in Buffalo. My God, I just pulled up a story that we had when we first launched Go Long at the newsletter. You know, I talked to Chad Hall, people around Stefon Diggs' trainer, Pete Bomarito, and I mean, Chad Hall really, who's no longer there anymore, right? He's the receivers coach in Jacksonville. Maybe, who knows? Maybe that's a factor as well. But Chad Hall, I mean, I'll link to it here in the description. I mean, he really broke down how Stefon Diggs became a leader, changed the culture in Buffalo, changed everything, became a leader instantly. And I mean, just here's one quote from Chad Hall. He's like a middle linebacker, man. He's your alpha, but he's your damn dog. He's tough as shit. He's mean as shit. I'm a military guy, and I'd want him in my foxhole. I'd want to be back-to-back with him. I know he's going to take care of me. I know I'm going to take care of him. That's the kind of guy is. You want him in your foxhole. I mean, this is the kind of personality the Bills have needed for years. I mean, you were here for a number of years, for years and years and years before you even stepped a foot in Buffalo in 2013. I mean, they just haven't had these kind of personalities. They had T.O. for a year, but he was kind of washed at that point. So I think you have to, don't necessarily need to embrace all that Stefon Diggs is, but you have to accept everything. You just do. Because without him, where are you? And I think Diggs knows that's his leverage. Like, where are the Buffalo Bills? Where is Josh Allen? If he's not wide receiver one, I don't know. It's a scary thought for Buffalo, which is why they need to make it work. But something happened behind the scenes, and any idea what that could have been, Jim?
No. That we're going to have to guess on that, and that's the hard part. But when you hear the agent come out, and I've known Adisa so long. When I was a Southeast area scout for the Saints, Adisa was an up and coming agent at the time, and I called him after I was at Troy. I visited Troy University, and I was talked to Adisa, and I liked Adisa, and I said, Adisa, there's a corner at Troy, Leotis McKelvin. And I told him, I was like, man, you might want to try to get in on him before he blows up. Like, because it was like one of those, but that's how far back kind of these relationships go with guys. And I always respected Adisa. He was Tyrod. I don't know if he's still Tyrod's agent or not, but yeah. That's
what I was thinking of. I mean, you probably had conversations with him about Tyrod, right? Probably some difficult conversations.
Yeah. So anyway, but I have a lot of respect for Adisa. But if he's involved, I just think this is probably any great basketball player, right? Any guy that is a scorer in basketball wants the ball, wants his points. I always say that with a number one wide out. I think a lot of whenever there's drama involved, they just want their chance. They want their opportunities. Even if the targets say they are, he'll have a reason why he's not being used enough. I promise you. That's how I just always feel like the great ones have been. We didn't have that in New Orleans. We didn't have the alpha receiver. We had a great core. We didn't have that alpha. So that was, I've been around that, I haven't been around T.O. It's funny. I was out in Philly when he came in. He was before me in Buffalo. So those alpha receivers, I can't say I've personally been around, but just knowing them, scouting them, and hearing how they act, it's all the same. Like all their characteristics read the same over time. It's very common. So to me, if it's a thing with him and Josh Allen, that's not a big deal either, because they'll work it out, because the key word is professional football. They will make sure they have a goal in mind. They work too hard to not achieve that goal. They know they both need each other. I'm not too worried about
it. When you really do think of basketball too, my mind just goes to Shaq and Kobe, right? Like perfect. Both of them,
perfect.
Looking back, would have loved to have found a way to just make it work, right? Like it drove Kobe nuts that Shaq just couldn't stay in shape. And I'm sure Shaq was rubbed off by Kobe's personality for being so callous. But when they were together and they were clicking, I mean, those Laker teams were unstoppable.
The best.
And then they obviously
that was glory basketball. Glory NBA right there.
Right. I mean, and here's a quarterback and a receiver who are at least publicly lovey-dovey. I mean, they're on the cover of Sports Illustrated for kids. The choreographed handshakes. We saw Allen elevate from very good second-year quarterback to star. Brian Daboll was a big reason for that. But Stefon Diggs was a massive reason for that. So you're right. We've got to speculate. The offense changed a little in terms of play calling. Dorsey taking the shots. Daboll more about the short to intermediate, the rhythm. Who knows if it's that? Who knows if it's just the playoff collapses? The punting on fourth down with the head coach and the Cincinnati game. I mean, you can really let your curiosity wander if you dive into some of those Reddit threads. Don't really want to go down that road here, but who knows why he's unhappy. I think, though, it probably does come back to just that intensity, right? I mean, just it's different. I mean, it just is. It's rare, and honestly, I mean, Isaiah McKenzie kind of called it on the happy hour here just a month ago, and I mean, I'll just read what he said. I mean, it's almost like he's Nostradamus. He said on Stefon Diggs, because we asked about the tweets, right? And you know what? I should start there, honestly, Jim, because I had forgotten some of these tweets. I mean, here's what Stefon Diggs was tweeting through the offseason. So March 8th, it's just business. Don't take it personal. March 8th, that's what they said at least. April 1st, come and rescue me, with several E's and several D's to kind of drag that out. April 6th, I just love the game to the point it's not even a game. May 24th, people get mad when you don't react how they wanted you to. So we asked Isaiah, and Isaiah said, he's a free bird. You just have to let him talk, let him ramble. It's Steph. I respect Steph. You've got to respect Steph. When he steps between those lines, he's doing his job. Whatever he's saying, that's what he's doing. When it comes to him talking or yelling at Josh or whatever, it's just Steph trying to get it out. He's just getting it out. And then I love this analogy from Isaiah. My fiance told me this. She said, sometimes I just want you to listen. I'm just talking. I don't even want you to say nothing. You've just got to let him talk. In Buffalo, we let him talk. And then this is the key point from Isaiah. But we also said, look, you can't say that because this. We also wouldn't let him talk too much. Like, you can't be saying that because I saw you do this and they do this. We correct him on some things. 90% of the time, he's probably right. The other 10%, you could probably be tripping. That's where you have to stop him right there and say, look, we're not letting you say this. We're not letting you do this. No, we can't even allow that. No. And he listens. He'll say, maybe I'm tripping. You're right. You're right. That's what you have to respect. Maybe he's talking a lot, but he will listen. Maybe this just falls into that 10%. He's really upset about his role, upset about something. It came up several months later in this meeting, and like a nasty, fight with a girlfriend, he just left.
That's him.
Maybe that's it.
I honestly, I think that's it, though. I mean, I think there is nobody that I don't know him, but just from scouting him and then just talking for people who know him better than I do, and then hearing that, he's always been this way. Whatever that way is. And Tyler, what do we always say? Production equals tolerance. It's simple. Production equals tolerance. It does. It's let him do whatever he needs to. Like Isaiah was saying, let him get it out. Let him whatever he needs to do. It'll happen. Just let him get to Sunday.
And I'm sure what Sean's cognizant of, Brandon Bean 2, Josh Allen 3. At what point could it become, malignant, detrimental to the team dynamic? And because you do have this window, you do have this good thing going, but I think you just nailed it. I mean, as long as he's at the peak of his powers, and I think he's still there. I mean, the numbers weren't outside of that New England game weren't great toward the end of the season. That's where your scouting and your coaching and your self-scout, right? And you're analyzing your own film has to come into play because, if he is slipping, right? I mean, these receivers, when they hit 30, 31, how old is Stefon Diggs?
Good point.
He's going to be 30 years old in November. So correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but I mean, that side of 30, these receivers, they can fall off a cliff. Mm-hmm. I remember being dead wrong about Julio Jones when the Tennessee Titans got him a couple years ago. I'm thinking, whoo, one-on-ones, you're going to load up to stop Derrick Henry. Julio Jones is still this freak. This is going to be amazing. And his body just broke down. He wasn't the same receiver. He was in Tampa and he's done. That's why this DeAndre Hopkins stuff just doesn't really excite me. I don't know. I mean, maybe he's got, but when it happens, it's gonna be abrupt and it's gonna be ugly. I'm not saying Stefon Diggs is inching toward the cliff. I mean, he still put up really good numbers last year. He's got this rapport with Allen. Yeah. But on your production tolerance point, I'll just throw this at you. Theoretically, if you're looking at the film, you think he's slipping a little bit, and you are already kind of pinching pennies as Brandon Bean, and you're working the fringes, this would be the time to trade him. I mean, right? And I get it. There's some people saying, "Oh, this contract's untradeable." I mean, every contract is tradable. Like they could make this happen. I mean, I believe the Falcons and the Titans made it work out, and that contract seemed untradeable. And he was a little further along than Diggs, so
you can make it happen.
You could. What could you get for a combustible receiver who did this kind of stuff in Minnesota? I don't know, and that ship has probably sailed now that a lot of this dirty laundry is being aired. Right? If you're seeing all this behind the scenes early in the off season, if you're a little forward thinking and you don't mind taking the bullet in the court of public opinion, right? The fans would be really mad if you traded Stefon Diggs. That's probably the time to do it for getting a decent return. Would you consider it, though, as an option, whether it's at that point or this point as a GM?
No. I'm good. I keep him.
You ride it out. Right?
Guy, I'm good. I love the guy. Don't mess this up. It'd be like Kyrie and LeBron to me. Don't break up. Like you guys you could have had a nice run.
Yeah. And you know what? The more I really thought about it, Jim, the more I'm with you. Like I think it's really easy to hyperanalyze the situation, and a lot of teams kind of run into these problems. They look at numbers and they look at analytics. Look at Diggs' former team, the Minnesota Vikings. I get it. Like you have to rebuild at some point. You have to move on from players at some point, and maybe Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah is doing the right thing. Maybe he is. But they could have kept Dalvin Cook. I mean, it's not breaking the bank. He's still really good. We'll see how it works out. Like, that's the balance of playing for the now, thinking of the future, assessing and being realistic with your team's Super Bowl chances in the present. So maybe like the Vikings are looking at their roster and thinking, look, we won all these one-score games last year. We lost to the Giants in the wild card. We're not competing for a Super Bowl. We're going to move on from Eric Hendricks and Dalvin Cook and, Danielle Hunter possibly soon, Darius Smith. The Bills are clearly in win now mode. Like, the Super Bowl window's open. So I'm with you. You keep Diggs. You put up with anything you have to put up with off the field. Let's see where he's at 31, 32 years old. But right now, you've got a chance to win it all. So why would you basically cut off your left hand? You wouldn't.
Nope. It's good drama. It's good drama. The thing with Diggs as he ages as a player, he's such an incredible route runner that he could age into an incredible slot. I think he could play for a long time if he's into it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not built on just speed. His route running athleticism are so special where you can line him up so many places. And so I just love his value. I love the guy as a player. I love he and Josh Allen together. Like, I just get whatever this is. Get to that first game right now. This is what you got to put up with.
Great point on the route running. We forget how unbelievable of a route runner he is.
It's awesome. Like, it's such a rare quality to have. But talking about Dalvin Cook, and it made me think of Saquon Barkley too. With the Vikings and Cook, I don't know enough about that whole situation financially and what they're doing. But to be honest, I'm okay. Like, yeah, make that move if you need to financially, if that's why they did it. Your team's based on Cousins and you put your money in the quarterback. You keep playing him. You don't replace the guy. We read he's going to the Hall of Fame on Twitter this week. So I guess my point is, yeah, if that helps you build around other pieces, then do it. With the Giants, with Saquon Barkley, he feels disrespected. I don't know how to feel about that. Like, the Giants have to do what's right for them. They need Daniel Jones to be right. And I'll use gambling as an example, Tyler, but if Daniel Jones midweek gets hurt compared to Saquon Barkley midweek during the season, that point spread, if Saquon Barkley gets hurt, that point spread might get affected by half a point. If Daniel Jones gets hurt, that point spread is getting moved probably 3.5 points. My point is, quarterback, Daniel Jones is the key in New York. It's not Saquon. And he's replaceable in my mind. Like, the Giants tag him, they want him. Play. Don't feel disrespected. You should feel pretty respected.
Great point.
I don't know, Tyler. How do you feel? Do you feel opposite of me on that? I mean, I feel like I'm a little off.
I love my running backs.
Yeah.
I feel bad for running backs today. I feel sad for running backs today.
I do too.
They're so instrumental to success, especially if you can get a Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs. Get a young stud, play him right away. Get him 200, 300 touches right away. I mean, that's cost controlled, 5 years. That's just smart financially to use and abuse, your young running back. Honestly, when the new CBA, I was just talking to an agent about this, when the new CBA conversations are being had, they've got to somehow put the running back position in a different bracket with the rookie pay scale, right? Like, it's different than everything else. It's not fair to these running backs that they've got to wait 4, maybe 5 years to get to their second deal when it might not even matter how good you are. A team's not going to pay you a ton of money. I mean, we just saw a wave of the best backs in the NFL getting the bag, come and go. And these teams, I mean, they couldn't wait to get out of those contracts. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is like the one I guess you could call him an exception because he is a receiver. He
I
does
would call him
so
an
many
exception.
things. But even then, he couldn't elevate the Carolina Panthers, and then they were trying to get out of that contract. So yeah, I mean, it kind of stinks for Barkley. Daniel Jones is better with him. That the Giants want him. That they tagged him. They're
That's
trying to
what I'm saying.
negotiate with him. Like
Yeah,
they
that's
want
what
to
I'm
give him a
saying.
contract.
Go
So
prove. Go on the journey. I mean, is it fair? Is it ideal? No, but I don't know. I just that one I just rubbed me the wrong way. The other thing I was thinking about too, we were talking about with the Bills, with the big personality. Shady McCoy was a big personality, superstar, but where he would, I don't know. I don't want. I'm not saying he was never negative, but did he have an ability to let his mind out? Yeah, in a great way, just like he does right now on his show. The way he talks about Dak Prescott,
mhm.
he's very just blunt with things. But I always thought Shady, behind closed doors, he could wear me out. Still arguing about why no Sean Marino went ahead of him in a draft. Wear me out. If he saw me tomorrow, he'll talk about it. But I love that about Shady. And there's nobody you want to go on the field with more than Shady, more than Stefon Diggs, because they lay it out. They lay it out. They don't hide from anything.
So, oh my God, I can't believe we haven't talked about this. I don't think we've talked about this. You've broken down how the trade happened on the yacht, obviously with Doug and Terry and like Chip Kelly shopping LeSean McCoy and yeah, we'll take him. We'll take him. Kiko, what else? What else do you need? So the trade goes down, and it's just beautiful. The story that you told. So when I was at the Buffalo News in 2015, ahead of that Philly game, I did a big feature on LeSean McCoy, and I talked to his brother LaRon
Oh, yeah.
about like when LeSean found out that he was going to be a Bill. Maybe I don't know. You don't have time to read my stuff back then, but your name was I talked about you in the story. I totally forgot till now. Um, so
I,
I just
yeah.
I just pulled it up,
Oh, that's
and
crazy. It's
so
coming back to me. Yeah.
um, so this is from LaRon. He said that his brother LeSean was quote crushed, devastated, and then this is what I wrote at the time. So yeah, that was ahead of the Philly game. I said, so the Bills couldn't get a hold of him. McCoy was off the grid. He'd never played for a football team outside the state of Pennsylvania. McCoy had a heart-to-heart with his agent, Drew Rosenhaus. Weichter, that was his high school coach, right, at Bishop McDermott. That's
Yeah.
right. I sat down with him down there.
Mm-hmm.
Explained to LeSean that Rex Ryan will want to run the ball. And once he said that the Bills' director of personnel, Jim Monis, was a Bishop McDermott graduate himself, McCoy started warming up to the change. Quote, he was very, very upset, LaRon said. Upset's not even the right word. He was heartbroken. But when he heard Jim Monis was in Buffalo and he was a Bishop McDermott guy, we're giving you all the credit.
No, no. Let's first off, yes, he was devastated, and I had nothing to do with him being more excited about Buffalo. I'm pretty
No, but his,
sure.
his coach helped him connect the dots. He said, hey,
Well,
they're not all evil up there.
so Wechter, he's just that story that Wechter back in I was transferring high schools back before high schools back in like 1992. I visited two high schools. Wechter was the head coach at Lebanon Catholic, one of the schools I was looking to transfer to. But anyway, he was Shady's coach, just long time winning coach at Bishop McDermott every year. And I thought goes to show you how off I was. We were celebrating so hard of that trade because I told you before that was the most fantasy football. Me and you in a backyard making a trade when we're in high school. Whatever thing we did. You know what I'm saying? That easy. It just doesn't happen that way. So there we are at our high. It brought me back that night right away. I'm like, you know what? It hit me. Like, yeah, that is tough. Like, he put his heart into that city. That was his childhood dream. everything. It hit all the. It makes that trade even crazier that Chip Kelly did.
It does. I'm sure it still bothers him to this day. I mean, he would have loved to have cemented a legacy with
has that
Philly.
ever come out? Was that ever known if that was a Howie Roseman? Was Howie involved in that?
No,
I
I
don't
mean,
think
that
he
was all.
was. I don't
No,
think he
I
was.
think
We didn't
it's
deal
all
with
Chip. I
Howie.
mean, Howie's career is insane.
That's
I mean,
what I'm
he's the
trying to say.
guy, then he gets
Right.
shoved, to the basement, told to,
Yeah.
get out of here. Here's a coloring book.
And that
Here's
was
some
by
cocoa
Chip Kelly,
melon.
right?
Let the big boys run the show, Howie. And then Chip starts great, then runs the team to the ground. Howie comes back, rebuilds another winner. I mean, it's nuts what he's done.
It is. But it takes me back. But it brings you back to the human part of that. That there
What
we
did
are
you think
celebrating.
when LeSean kissed the logo, though? I mean, that's kind of when the season is starting to nosedive. Year one of Rex. I mean, it was so high and so low. I mean, that season was nuts. But I remember like the lead up to the game, LeSean at his locker said, I'm not going to shake shit. Basically calling out Chip, nothing to do with him. I mean, he was pissed. Goes out there in pregame, kisses the logo. It was weird. He's a different cat.
Shady. Hey, I can't say weird. It's shady.
That's why they call him Shady.
Oh, it's just his personality. It's just like I'm saying with Diggs. Like, I just feel like that this is who they are. It goes back kind of how we were talking about their personalities. Yeah. He did
and you
that.
deal with it to a point.
To a point.
Right? And the Bills dealt with, I mean, LeSean was the starting running back when
unbelievable. Like everything.
Like the end of the drought with in Sean's first year. I mean, he wasn't that productive, but it was like, okay. He ran his course, time to go, and then he was basically done.
Shady loves football so much. It's like I just can't get over how much he loves football. How much he knows about the game, his passion, like it's why he's, you add all that and his talent, that's what makes superstar. He just has the talent and passion combined.
He was way better than I anticipated.
Same.
I don't know. I think there was part of me that thought that Philly was smarter than Buffalo at that point. It was one of those trades. I remember exactly where I was when it went down. I was still living in Green Bay at the YMCA, like in the weight room, and I got a text from my college roommate, Jimmy Paul, who loves the podcast, loves your analysis, and he was making fun of you. He was making fun of you guys. He's like, "Oh, good luck with LeSean. We're take his contract, take this running back." I mean, I didn't really know what the Bills were getting themselves into.
Here's why he is kind of right on that trade in general. In general, that trade doesn't move the needle enough for either team. As far as great as Shady was, if you don't have the quarterback, it's just too hard to get over the top. And you see what I'm saying? Where, we valued that trade so much because we needed everything to be, outstanding because we didn't have, a solid, what we considered a franchise type quarterback at the time. It was Tyrod, who we knew needed, he was still developing as a starter. So anyway, the offense was going to be based around Shady, and it was, rightfully so. And you're going to look back on that team someday, that starting lineup is scary when you look at it offensively. But point being, that trade didn't do anything for either franchise, really. Kiko didn't do anything for them.
I mean, you guys led the league in rushing.
No, Shady
not for nothing.
Shady did every single thing you can do. I mean, he elevated us, and they got to the playoffs.
Yeah. Also, I don't know, from what I can recall, a Kiko Alonso jersey can take a man far in life.
I mean, let's face it. The trade itself was a win as far as who got the value per player. Shady's
Did you ever
value.
hear that story, Jim? You never heard
Wait,
that story
is that
locally?
the Kiko story
Yeah, the
in
jersey
Buffalo?
for a fan in Buffalo. I
Yeah.
mean, we don't have to get into the details. I think we'll
Kiko
just
was
let
a
people research
Kiko was
that.
a big hit on Chippewa.
Yeah, I think I think down those lines, everybody's a big hit on Chippewa at some point in their life. I mean, the bars close at 4 a.m. in Buffalo.
I
So
wouldn't know
you
anything
you
about that,
turn
Tyler.
no, you wouldn't, not at all. You never went to Bada Bing for a little late night snack, or you never saw Tim Murray out for sure. That never happened. I might have gotten a few beers with him at one point. It was an awesome conversation. I loved it.
Hey, you
All
have to know
right.
how your players. You have to be out to know how your players are living. You want to make sure your players are living right. We're
It's a
all in
good
this
place to
together.
live.
We're a team.
Anything else? I mean, on Diggs that we're missing here. I mean, this could. I think we're on the same page. Like you have these brutal conversations. You get everything off your chest. I mean, Isaiah was like I said, it was like he predicted the future. The Bills basically kind of let him say whatever he had to say, gripe about whatever he had to gripe about. And now
Whatever
they're
he
in the
wanted to.
kumbaya phase. They'll come back for training camp. They'll have training camp. The games will begin. But I mean, it's going to come up again. Like he's too competitive. Like there's going to be issues.
Sure.
It's a guarantee. It's a guarantee. Concern you? Not concern you?
Doesn't concern me. It concerns McDermott. He's the one
Yeah,
to say he's concerned. He's very concerned.
that's true. Said it himself. Hmm.
That to me is the story, though. I don't understand why he said that.
It's strange. It's strange. I think everybody's left. It's not like you hear the head coach today, it's Wednesday, say, "Oh, I just want to provide clarity." Um, you know, Talked it out, have hard conversations, da 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 da, lickety split, everything's fine. Like something's up. It will come up again. We'll see if it affects the team. I I think you want him on your team. You want to feed him the ball 11, 12, 13 times a game. He deserves it. He's still really, really good. Yet, this is also how really, really talented teams with the Super Bowl window wide open start to come apart at the seams. There's infighting. Look at the Legion of Boom. You lose at the I mean, granted, they won a Super Bowl too, but you lose at the 1 yard line. Russell Wilson throws a pick. Richard Sherman's pissed off. He in the moment, it's kind of eerie. Like the iconic image of Richard Sherman just collapsing is so similar to kind of Diggs in Allen's face. But I mean, really, I guess the moment for Buffalo would be 13 seconds. I mean, that was the team. That was the offense that could have won a Super Bowl. So you get that close to winning it all. You don't. A star player is really unhappy. In Seattle's case, it was kind of Richard Sherman and the whole defense unhappy with how Russell Wilson was treated within the team dynamic and throwing the ball at the 1 yard line, thinking that Pete Carroll wanted him to have the glory, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it fell apart fast. It was one
Window.
more decent season, and then the defense breaks up. They're done. Russell Wilson hangs around. They try to move the pieces around Russell Wilson to make it work. Even got a new coordinator. Even got him DK Metcalf. But they never were a serious Super Bowl contender again. So that's the danger here. It's like, is this a sign of?
Here you go.
I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire. I'd be concerned. I think Sean is right to be concerned. Like they're in terms of big picture, where do the Buffalo Bills go from here? This is one of your two best players. Clearly something's wrong. So I don't think that we should all just kind of merrily, drive down the I-90 at this situation like it's a rest stop and say, nothing to see here. Let's just keep it. No, like something's up. Something's up here.
Here's a poll question. Who lasts longer in Buffalo? The head coach, Sean McDermott, or Stefon Diggs? Like, whose
See,
career?
that's a great question because
I already know that it's not. We already know quarterback's good. It's going to
Allen
be
being drafted Allen, he's below
no. We
him.
know that. We know the Christmas.
I'd say McDermott. I think McDermott still would have that power over a wide receiver past 30. Right? I mean, it's the owner's call.
Yeah, that's a good bet. I think so too.
I mean, I'm not saying it's right, but
no, I'm not either. I need to
it kind of depends how the season would unfold, though, too.
I might
Like
need to think
how
about
would the
that
season
one.
end?
That's what I was going to say. What if it's the defense that struggles?
I mean, in that case,
McDermott's
it's
calling
Marty
the defense.
Schottenheimer.
McDermott's calling the defense. The defense struggles this year. The offense is putting up numbers. Now who goes? Say they don't make the Super Bowl. And it was the defense that gave up points. That could be the head coach and not the receiver.
It's all about how it would fall apart, because at that point, then
it would have to be the defense. I think
it'd have to be code red, big picture.
I agree.
Like, it's bigger than any of this Dick stuff. It's you've got Josh Allen. You're not getting it done. Get a coach in there who isn't the second coming of Schottenheimer, John Fox, the coaches we've referenced here. But to McDermott's credit, he's optically, perception-wise, now everybody knows he is in charge of that defense. For better or worse. There's no beating around the bush. Okay, I think that's good. That was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed that one, Jim. Sorry we didn't do it in person. We'll get to Fatty soon. We should mention Fatty. It's a great time to get in there. Get your summer seasonal beverages. Downtown Buffalo, Orchard Park, Hamburg, Kenmore, Tonawanda, all over the place. We'll be there soon. And over at Go Long, have a lot of stories, a lot of features very, very, very soon. I've kind of been on the road a lot, Jim. Jacksonville, Tampa, Detroit. So we've kind of been gathering, working on some long form stuff, and saving it for the right time. So subscribe, golongtd.com. Completely dependent on our readers. Thank you very much. Jim, we'll see you soon.